Would all board members come to their seats, please, so we can get started? This February 23rd, 2017 regular meeting of the Fairfax County School Board will now come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, a moment of silence, and the performance of the national anthem by the Daniels Run Elementary School singers under the direction of Michelle McCartan and Lucinda Sexton. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for your beautiful voices tonight. And parents, thank you too for bringing your children out here and for sharing their talents with us.
I'd also like to thank Principal Adam Ebrecht, who is here this evening as well from Daniels Run. Thank you.
In order to comply with Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, it's necessary for the board to certify that since the Fairfax County School Board convened a closed meeting on February 23, 2017, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board during the closed meeting. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mrs. Corbett Sanders, seconded by Mrs. Strauss. All those in favor, raise your hand. Hines, Huff, Schultz, Corbett Sanders, Strauss, Evans, McLaughlin, Derenak Koufax, McElveen. Those opposed, those abstaining, Palchik, Moon, and Wilson. That motion passes. A few announcements before we begin tonight's meeting. If you would like to review a copy of the agenda and any agenda item that's being discussed tonight, that information is on the table by the auditorium entrance. Tonight's agenda is available by going to School Board on the FCPS homepage and selecting Board Docs under Upcoming School Board Meetings. The meeting is also being streamed live online. Select School Board from the full menu, then click on the Watch Live button on the School Board Meetings webpage. Please turn off or silence your cell phone. I will now call on Ms. Chu for announcements.
Thank you, Chair. Read Across America Day will be on March 2nd. The National Education Association's Read Across America, now in its 20th year, is an annual reading motivation and awareness program that calls for every child in every community to celebrate reading on or around Dr. Seuss's birthday. This year's celebration is based on the theme, Grab Your Hat and Read with a Cat, to encourage students to delve into books to learn as much as possible while becoming lifelong readers. In cities and towns across the nation, teachers, teenagers, librarians, politicians, actors, athletes, parents, grandparents, and others develop the NEA's Read Across America activities to bring reading excitement to children of all ages. Governors, mayors, and other elected officials recognize the role that reading plays in their communities with proclamations and floor statements. Athletes and actors issue reading challenges to young readers. Teachers and principals seem to be more than happy to dye their hair green and wear Seuss-inspired costumes if it boosts their students' reading. In addition, the week of March 5th to 11th has been designated as National Foreign Language Week. The Alpha Mu Gamma Foreign Language Honor Society has sponsored National Foreign Language Week since 1957, and the theme for 2017 is Find the Missing Piece, Learn a Language. Schools are encouraged to use this opportunity to highlight the value of learning world languages and learning about other cultures, and to celebrate the successes of world language students and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. We move to item 2.04, recognition of Caitlin Hyun. I call on Mr. McElvain.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, I am honored to join with the board to recognize Caitlin Hyun, one of our multi-talented seniors from Oakton High School. Earlier this academic year, Caitlin was crowned as Miss Teen of Virginia 2016 and went on to win third place or second runner-up in the National Miss Teen of America pageant. Miss Teen of America is a scholastically based pageant that recognizes young women ages 13 to 18 for their outstanding personal achievements, leadership abilities, and artistic, creative, and athletic talents. The organization searches for well-rounded teenagers who are judged in 6 distinct categories: scholastic achievement, service to school and community, personal development, personality projection and poise and formal wear, a general awareness test, and interview. Ms. Hyun is a Renaissance student who clearly exemplifies the traits we are looking for in our portrait of a graduate. She's an accomplished flautist and pianist who plays in the Capitol Symphonic Youth Orchestra. One thing you will learn about her is that she draws upon her passions to serve the community. Along those lines, she serves as founder and manager of the Oakton Music Ensemble, a group that visits and plays music at nursing homes. She is also an accomplished tennis player who serves as her team captain and has helped lead her team to state-level finals every year she's been at Oakton. She holds herself a state championship in tennis singles. Drawing on her passion to serve the community, she has hosted a tennis racket fundraiser for military families that has raised over 30 rackets. In her spare time, she serves as vice president of her senior class, is a member of the National Honor Society, English Honor Society, Math Honor Society, is an editor of the Opus Literary Magazine, and has been honored for her writing and photography. At this time, I would like to invite Caitlin, her family, and friends to join the board at the dais for a photo.
Item 2.05, recognition of Social Work Month. I call on Ms. McLaughlin for a motion. Actually, for a recognition.
Thank you, Chairman Evans. This is always one of my favorite recognitions as a trained social worker. It's really wonderful that I get an opportunity to congratulate and honor the social workers in our school system who make an invaluable contribution to the mental health and well-being of our students every single day in Fairfax County Schools. And I want to just thank you for the contributions you make to our students, and please know that you are deeply valued by me and my colleagues here. And so with that, the formal recognition of the National Social Work Month for March 2017 reads, March is the National Social Work Month, and this year's theme is Social Workers Stand Up. Social workers tackle some of the toughest challenges facing our society. In every city and every community, they develop solutions to make mental health and health care more available, to reduce poverty, to eliminate injustice and discrimination, and to protect vulnerable children from harm. Social workers contribute at all levels of society, working with individuals, families, and schools to mediate conflict, foster positive relationships, and create hope and opportunity for people in need. Social workers in Fairfax County Public Schools use their training, experience, and skills to provide services to children, families, and school staff members in the effort to remove personal and environmental obstacles so that we can have optimal student academic performance. Social workers are committed to helping every child achieve in school and to become self-sufficient, emotionally healthy, socially well-adjusted, and productive members of our society. At this time, I would like to invite the social workers in our audience to join us at the dais for a photo with the board. And again, thank you for your fantastic contributions to our schools.
We now turn to item 2.06, recognition of National Athletic Training Month, and I call on Ms. Schultz.
Okay, so I heard your overview, Ms. McLaughlin, why you love social workers, and I love social workers too. I just had to get a drink. But I love being a mother of 4 boys. The older, actually, they're all athletes now. I love National Athletic Training Month because you guys keep my kids safe, and if they're not safe, you heal them up. So March is National Athletic Training Month, and this year's theme is Your Protection is Our Priority. Thank you. An appropriate slogan reflecting the important role certified athletic trainers employed by Fairfax County Public Schools play in keeping our students safe. Through educational programs for students, parents, coaches, preseason sports screenings, and emergency planning, these nationally certified and state-licensed medical professionals are dedicated to promoting the health and safety of our student athletes before, during, and after practices and competitions. The athletic healthcare services provided by certified athletic trainers include the prevention, recognition, evaluation, treatment, and rehabilitation of athletic injuries and illness. FCPS continues to be recognized as a leader in adolescent injury epidemiology research and sports-related concussion management for high school athletes. Our athletic trainers work collaboratively with parents, school staff, and community medical providers to promote safe participation for over 25,000 athletic participants each year. In fact, during the 2015-16 school year, over 9,300 individual students received care from an FCPS athletic trainer, accounting for over 75,000 total visits to our 25 athletic training facilities. FCPS is nationally recognized as a leader among high school athletic training programs. Earlier this month, all 25 FCPS high schools were again designated as first team safe sports schools through the National Athletic Trainers Association. The second time all 25 high schools have been recognized in this fashion. At this time, I would like to invite John Reynolds and the athletic trainers in the audience to join me at the dais for a photo with this board. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Long time no see. Yes, we see it now. Beautiful. Thank you for your work. I had 2 years played football across, so. Yeah, where did they go? With them. Yeah, Kelly picked them.
Item 2.07, School Board Appreciation Month. I call on Dr. Lockhart.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to make a brief announcement. I'm pleased to announce to the public that February is School Board Appreciation Month. So tonight we celebrate the service, dedication, and the significant contributions of our school board and each of the 12 individuals who comprise this board, as well as our student representative. The school board, along with me as interim superintendent and the wonderful FCPS staff and faculty, work together to prepare our students for their future and success in life. We're a team in service for Fairfax County Public Schools and the entire Fairfax community. School board members are elected by their community to create the vision and play an instrumental role in the governance of our public school system. School board members spend a significant amount of time in our communities as stewards and advocates for our students, our families, our schools, and our staff. We're thankful for their leadership and service. Please join me in a round of applause as we thank our dedicated school board members, and then I invite our school board to the front for a photo.
And thank you for your kind words and for the cupcakes. Yes. I appreciate you. Oh, yes. Yes. Can we resolve to never do this again? I would go for that. Short people, you're on screen.
No always in the middle.
And thank you, Dr. Lockhart, for the cupcakes. We very much appreciate those. That will be our dessert tonight. And now we have something that's not on the agenda, but it's very special to all of us up here. And I am going to call on Mrs. Strauss
Thank you.
for a motion.
We have a very special recognition. We have three wonderful people who run our school board office, our three clerks, Eileen Mulber, Ann Benedicto, and Bev Medea, and they are wonderful, and we could not get our work done on behalf of our students, our wonderful teachers and employees, and the taxpayers of Fairfax County if it weren't for the superb help of you three. So I'm very honored to read this resolution. Whereas school board clerks throughout our great Commonwealth are appointed by law to fulfill critical duties and responsibilities, and Fairfax County Public Schools is fortunate to have the three very best clerks in Virginia. And whereas school board clerks are responsible for supporting all meetings and proceedings, no matter the length and complexity of the meeting, and keeping accurate records of those meetings. And whereas as representatives of the school board, the clerks are called upon to exude an aura of calm, even during the most stressful of times, and are counted on for their professionalism and their frequent contact with the public, including parents, employees, and the media. And whereas the school board clerks in the performance of their duties are often required to work extra hours, attending board meetings, and do so without complaint or hardly a grimace. Thank you. And whereas school board clerks provide an invaluable service for school board members who, without their help, would not be as prepared and efficient in administering their duties. And whereas the Fairfax County School Board joins the VSBA and recognizing with appreciation and gratitude the many and varied contributions of our school board clerks. Now, therefore, be it resolved that at this meeting on the 23rd day of February, we officially acknowledge that we would be lost without you and extend our heartiest thanks for everything you do to make our lives easier and our work more productive. I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hines. All those in favor? And that vote is unanimous.
All right.
So if our clerks would come down and take a photo with us and receive some certificates of recognition. Sure, bring your letters. And thank you to Kathy Partlow, Executive Administrative Assistant Extraordinaire, for getting us all organized. Well, we really do very much appreciate our clerks, so thank you all for being here with us tonight. 3.01 is citizen participation. In the next order of business is citizen participation. Tonight, we have 10 citizens who have signed up to address the board. Speakers are requested to limit their remarks to not more than 3 minutes. The school board will not hear statements involving issues that have been scheduled for public hearings, such as the capital improvement program, budget, and boundaries. Complaints regarding individual students or school-based employees shall be directed to the appropriate school principal or other school official. Speakers should refrain from using personally identifiable information in connection with an individual student. Speakers are expected to deliver their comments with the decorum and respect appropriate to the conduct of the public's business. Please be mindful that there are often young children in attendance at these meetings or watching at home, so language should be appropriate for all age levels. Thank you for your cooperation, and thanks to those who have come out to speak with us tonight. I'm going to call the first 3 names and would appreciate it if you would come forwards and be ready to speak. We have Charles McAndrew to be followed by Kathy Roos, to be followed by Meg Kilgallen. Mr. McAndrew.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, members of the school board, and Mr. Lockhart. My name is Charles McAndrew. I live in Oak Hill, Virginia. My wife and I have been homeowners in Fairfax County since 1968. We raised our children in Fairfax County. They all graduated from Oakton High School in the 90s, went on to the top state universities in Virginia. I'm very proud of the school system and the teachers. My concern tonight is I understand that you all have relieved your auditor, and I am a proponent of the Office of the Inspector General. I worked most of my career in the federal government in financial management as a manager, and I know the the operations of the Office of Inspector General. It's an important office, and what they do is they do evaluations, inspections, and audits, and they do this to promote efficiency and effectiveness in the government. And this is something that in 1999 I retired from the U.S. Information Agency. This was a $1 billion agency. It was merged into U.S. Department of State, and this small agency had an Office of Inspector General. Every department in the federal government and in every agency has an Office of Inspector General. I urge you to review this carefully and think about the idea of putting an OIG. It's more than auditing. And the area of investigations, when you have the power investigations, you can investigate someone for fraud and they can be prosecuted. And this is an office that would promote looking after fraud, waste, abuse, mismanagement that you might have. And every IG that I have known in the departments in the federal government have shown that they have actually had they promoted efficiency and effectiveness, and they've shown that they have saved the government money, which actually is paid for the whole program of the IG in that department. I encourage you to look into this. Auditors are very important, and they can be your friend. I worked as a division director for Department of State. I worked carefully with the IG, and we had a good relationship. So don't look at them with a negative view. They are out to help you, and this is the way I work with them. I know because I've been there. And I urge you very much to look into the Office of Inspector General and to fill this position of the auditor. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Kathy Roos, to be followed by Meg Kilgannon, to be followed by Mike Nee.
Good evening. I am a lawyer, a mother of young children in Fairfax County. I'm also a private teacher, and I have not mentioned that in the past as I've spoken to you, but I'm very proud of that part of my work. My remarks address the Audit Committee and specifically the need for the board to audit its own governance. Last night, the Departments of Justice and Education issued guidelines rescinding the Obama administration's reckless, lawless, heavy-handed federal directive regarding school showers and bathrooms. And yet today, Ms. Evans, you issued a statement to the media inquiries that you were disappointed in this turn of events. Your words are, "I am disappointed in this new guidance." Those are your words. Is it appropriate for you to give your personal views as an official statement to media inquiries? Are you purporting to speak for the whole board? Has the board voted to issue a resolution, a statement of disappointment on this ruling? That would be a pretty quick vote. It's only been 24 hours. In the past, members of this board have cited the Obama administrative directive many times to justify the expansion of Policy 1450. It was very important what the Obama administration has done in the past, has said about this, specifically in the guidance, even though you amended the policy a year before the Obama administration guidance came out. Now, we have new guidance from Departments of Justice and Education. But this guidance is not so important for the discussion. In fact, it's a disappointment. Why is that? The guidance from a Democrat Department of Justice and Department of Education is important and weighty, and we must consider it. But guidance from a Republican Department of Administration, Department of Education, and Department of Justice is a disappointment. It seems like you're playing politics. And you're not playing politics with people your own age. You are playing politics with children. It's disgraceful. Now, in short, one of the reasons why the Departments of Education and Justice rescinded the Obama guidance was because it did not contain extensive legal analysis or explain how ignoring biological sex differences is consistent with the express language of Title IX and decades of enforcement. There was no sufficient legal analysis of that. In short, it caused confusion. It couldn't be reconciled. There were too many questions. Does this board have answers that the Departments of Education and Justice don't have? If so, please share them with us. We would love to know what your answers are. Ms. Evans, you told media outlets today that you will continue to accommodate transgender students and that the board is eager to do that. I don't have that part of your quote in front of me, but if you would like to issue your quote tonight, I'd love to hear it in full. Now, does that mean you're going to continue to force girls to shower with biological males? Is that the accommodation that you are continuing to pursue despite this new guidance from the federal government? We don't know in what ways you are recommending schools accommodate transgender students. And I have no bone to pick with the transgender students, it's with the policy. What is your policy? What are you recommending to principals? They are apparently now accommodating in certain ways what's being done.
Could you wrap up, please?
Sure, I will. You hired a consultant, but you wouldn't tell us the name of the consultant. We had to find the name of the consultant on the Fairfax Pride website. This is a transgender advocate who recommends sensitivity training for bus drivers on LGBTQ.
I'd really like to ask you to wrap up. You've gone way over your 3 minutes.
2S. So where is his report?
People behind you.
Okay. So we're looking for his report still for a year. Thank you.
Meg Kilgannon, to be followed by Mike Nee, to be followed by Tom Cranmer.
Good evening. My name is Meg Kilgannon. I'm a wife and a mother of 4. All of our children have been educated in Fairfax County Public Schools, some currently. And I thank you for the chance tonight to address the board on the subject of audits. As a parent and a taxpayer, I too wonder if there's a process or approval process for statements from the board chair. A Dear Colleague letter with guidance, as Ms. Ruse just explained, came out last night at 7, and Ms. Evans put out a statement earlier today expressing her disappointment in the guidance. Is it a privilege of the chair to speak for the entire 9-member school board? Was the meeting held? Were draft statements circulated and voted on? Because the only voice we as parents have on this board is through our elected representatives. And so if those board members are not consulted on matters such as these, what is the point of voting for a school board? For example, Ms. Evans' statement says that the regulation implementing Policy 1450 remains on hold pending an FCPS review of the guidance decisions and pending court cases. But I think we need an audit of the FCPS practices to see if that is in fact the case. There are multiple cases of accommodations of transgendered students in FCPS. Perhaps those accommodations are reasonable and respectful of all students, and perhaps they are not. But parents and taxpayers will never know because we are excluded from the process. The hasty release of the statement, which it seems could not have been voted on, begs the question, does the school board know what's happening in individual schools on this issue? Because the whole point of the new guidance from the Trump administration is that localities decide what the policy on these controversial topics will be. The new guidance reminds us of an important principle of public education, and that is local control. But from what I've seen, this board seems out of control. Since the update on Policy 1450 was bullied through by then Chairman Patty Hines, parents are beginning to call into question if there can be an effective audit process in the current environment. If we audited FCPS's policies toward women and girls, would we find Title IX protections are ensured? I wonder. Is there any way, in the light of the new guidance, to finally have a community dialogue about gender identity? Unlike the process used to change school start times, gender identity policies regarding the well-being of all students have never been discussed, polled, or studied in Fairfax County Public Schools. There's no impact policy analysis. The school board at the time just decided what was best and made it so. That's not the kind of local control that made FCPS schools exceptional in past years. Week after week, parents and concerned citizens from all walks of life, many different ethnic communities, economically challenged students, special needs students, female students, rape survivors, and yes, even religious students, have expressed their concerns about the changes to Policy 1450, and your silence has been deafening. It's a shame and a disgrace that the public's business is conducted with so little regard for the public's opinion. Thank you.
Mike Nee, to be followed by Tom Cranmer, to be followed by Kathleen Gillette Mallard.
Good evening. Tonight I will talk about the audit report of the school transportation released in February 2017, hot from the press. It's encouraging that the Office of General Auditor conducted a comprehensive and independent study and audit. It's discouraging that the report contains numerous findings, issues, and weaknesses regarding the transportation. It's even more stressing and pressing that our audit committee of school board need to take immediate remediation actions. I will highlight 3 findings from the report. Number 1, aging fleet. Of the 1,600 school buses, 42% of them are running over 12 years. Raise your hand. Are you still driving the vehicle dated 1999? Anybody? But there are over 120 buses they've been putting in operation since 1999, running on a daily basis. Shall we be concerned about the security and the dependability of the children and the buses? Finding number 2, the questionable drivers. The auditors identified in the sample of 50 drivers, 28 of them failed to provide medical examination record, failed to provide the drug test report or alcohol report. There are 1,300 drivers out there. How many have similar issues? When I send my boys to the school bus every morning, should I be concerned about, is this driver overdosing or overdrinking last night? Is this driver have mental distress issues last night? Because the quality, the reliability of the drivers is not guaranteed. Finding number 3, the chaotic rides. The auditors went to 4 areas. They counted 1,400 incidents covering from students using indecent language, physical violence, even running around the bus when the bus is still in motion. Only 1/3 of the incidents have been reported to the school. 2/3 of the reports just ignored. Nobody watched them. So the unruly behavior of students on the bus distracted the driver and disrupted the smooth operation of the bus. So all in all, I strongly urge our audit committee school board to take actions to address all these findings, use our limited resource to the classroom, to the buses, instead of the bathroom. Thank you so much.
Tom Cranmer, to be followed by Kathleen Gillette Mallard, to be followed by John Murray. Mr. Cranmer?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, school board members, for coming out and listening. It's great that at least we get the chance to talk to you. I'm here to talk about not only the audit committee, but the auditor, and also, as Chuck McAndrew said, the importance of having an inspector general. The community voted against the school board with the vote against the meals tax. Now, I've never seen an analysis by any of you about the reasons for that, but it was a definite vote of no confidence. The firing of the Auditor General was another indication of why nobody has confidence in you. I called a couple of the financial people in the school and said, why? Normally in the financial business, which I'm in, you at least explain when something like that happens. Give a public statement, or at least I was talking on the telephone privately. The financial people said, gee, I don't know. Well, if they don't know, what good are they? We need to know what's going on, and you just increase mistrust. Now, the deal with Karen Garza was outlined very well a couple of weeks ago by Anna Ehrman. So I won't go into it, but she detailed how potentially this is a conflict of interest and potentially illegal. I suggest that you look at her report very carefully. You know, speaking of reports, it's very difficult on the website to even find the reports of the audit committee. I had to make a lot of phone calls to find out how to maneuver through what is apparently the documents section. But going superficially in the front, as an ordinary citizen, it was very, very difficult to see what's going on. There's a lot of mistrust about how things are handled, and as a result, it's very important to have a kind of super group doing the review of what's going on, an inspector general. Very common in the United States. The difference between an inspector general, basically, and I'm overstating it, is that the inspector general looks at management type decisions. He looks beyond just the nuts and bolts. And an auditor is basically a bean counter. Now, for those of you who might be auditors, that's maybe insulting. So please get an inspector general. Bring back trust to the schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen Gillette Mallard, to be followed by John Murray, to be followed by Paul McClemens. Ms. Mallard?
Good evening. Good evening, Superintendent Lockhart and members of the board, and congratulations on Board Appreciation Month. This evening, I want to talk to you about the need to have an independent audit function of the Fairfax County School Board and Fairfax County Public Schools without delay. My husband and I, Cole Mallard, if you want to stand up, we've been tax-paying homeowner residents of Fairfax County for over 35 years. That's a lot of taxes that have gone into the county and to Fairfax County Public Schools. Unfortunately, about 10 years ago, we had to take our youngest daughter out of Longfellow Middle School when she was in 7th grade because of the very disturbing family life education and the associated culture of that school. That was when I became aware that really there wasn't a lot of attention or regard for parents' input when it came to the FLE program. Because of the young people here, I will not tell you what she was going to learn in the 7th grade, but it made me sick. Anyhow, the other evening, after that, we had to swallow private school expenses for the next 5 years, totaling over $50,000, in addition to the taxes we'd been paying. On top of this, we have come to learn recently, on February 9th, the emotional testimony we heard of a 9th grade female student at Chantilly High School in front of the school board. She was made to watch a diversity video in her morning math class. Within the context of character education, what it really was a video to promote the lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual lifestyle, and to force students to accept what many of them considered counter to their values and religious beliefs. And there was no notification to parents. This video was made by students, we have come to learn, at Chantilly High School, with no opportunity for parents to opt out. It was so stressful, and I think you remember that lovely young woman almost emotionally telling you how it had upset her, how it went against her religious beliefs and her values. We believe that tens of thousands of students, whatever their background, religious background, Muslim, Catholics, Jews, evangelicals, have a right to a public education without having to deal with religious, and as it turned out, it was a form of sexual harassment, resulting in a hostile school environment. An independent audit function is essential to ensure legal and regulatory compliance and to ensure that your public agency, funded by over 52% of Fairfax County budget, or $2.17 billion, is not misused, abused, or poorly managed. I thank you for this time. I ask you to please seriously consider that when you're having students make a video, it should not be allowed to be shown without parental informed.
Thank you. John Murray, to be followed by Paul McClemens, to be followed by George Becerra. Mr. Murray? Is Mr. Murray here? All right. Mr. McClemens, to be followed by George Becerra and Amir Abdul-Rahim.
Good evening. Dr. Lockhart, Chairman Evans, Student Representative Ms. Chu, and esteemed school board members. My name is Paul McClemens, President of the Fairfax County Federation of Teachers. I represent FCPS educators, including classroom teachers, specialists, social workers, school counselors, office support staff, school security, and paraprofessionals who feel undervalued and underworked. They love changing the lives of children they interact with on a daily basis, but dislike the meetings and extra work required in order to try to make a living in Fairfax County. It is my understanding that the Fairfax County Public Schools Board of Education and the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors are working together in a joint work program to find ways in which certain programs can be integrated and the cost shared among the two entities. This is a great idea when the focus stays on Fairfax County. In many of the work sessions and task forces that I have been involved with during my presidency, all I have heard is Fairfax County comparing itself to the surrounding jurisdictions. My question is, why does Fairfax County, one of the greatest counties in the United States, care about what all the other jurisdictions are doing? Fairfax County used to be a leader, not a follower. When I came to Fairfax County in 2005 from out of state, I heard everyone talk about how great Fairfax County is. Within the past 6 to 7 years, that feeling has changed. What happened? Please keep the focus on Fairfax County and what we do best. We have the best schools, we have the best infrastructure, the best public libraries, the best park resources, the best fine arts programs and public art, and the best public employees. In the joint work program draft, it states that the draft work plan develop a more detailed outline from both county and schools clearly in defining all of the budget milestones as well as the roles and responsibilities of both staff and elected bodies. If this program is to be successful, then I urge the school board to uncover all the budget items so that the public can see all items that are included inside the larger bubbles of the budget. The draft also states that it will be used to facilitate joint fiscal forecasting, including planning for annual increases in employee compensation. FCFT members have made it clear to me in my school visits that they are unhappy with employee compensation because it has not been fair across the board to all employees. In talking with the members of the SAFE Coalition, Fairfax County public safety employees have also been given an unfair shake when it comes to compensation. It is the hope of FCFT and the brothers and sisters that stand together with us in other labor unions that Fairfax County stop comparing what the teachers are promised in a raise against what the county employees are promised in a raise. Look at the positive and the strengths that your current employees bring to the job and invest in our future. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Becerra.
Good evening, school board members and Dr. Lockhart. I'm here to talk on 2 or 3 things. First, let me start off with citizen participation. I've said this for about 2 years now. I think you need to relook at your policy on that. I don't know if that goes under governance and Ms. McLaughlin or combination with Mr. McElveen in public engagement. The issue is, and this is the last person probably to say this, is the repetitious members speaking every board meeting. The Board of Supervisors has a policy once every 6 months a citizen can speak because they don't want to see the same folks over and over again, except it's public hearings. They're those open sessions, I guess you can speak. So if you can look at that policy, more important too, I've seen many times in the last year non-county residents here for a fact because I'm very involved and I know a lot of Loudoun folks who come to Fairfax and advocate. I don't say anything, but finally I'm going to start to say something. I've seen Loudoun and Arlington here. I'm not saying pros or cons on what they're saying, but if they're a resident, they're not a resident. Simple checks, tax administration records, public records. Look up their address when they apply. Any public citizen can do that. Or some focus that you guys can determine if a citizen or is a resident of this county, a resident of this county. On that aspect, so if it's just disengaging. People are not going to wake up at 5:55 and get on the computer at 6. I'm sorry, they're not going to do that. And then just for what, 10 spots? And then what does your staff have to do in the morning? They have to make sure, is it on time? Or is it on there? If there's a glitch or anything, then the public complaining about there's some conspiracy behind it. Then you're putting your staff in an area that at 6 o'clock in the morning. Are you guys paying them at 6? So please look at this policy again. So let me talk about what's on subject, because I've given the privilege tonight to talk anything off topic because I was in speaker number 9. But I will come back to on topic. Like Mr. Paul McClemens had said, the joint the joint school board, board of supervisors work plan. I'm all for that. A little history behind it for the people who don't know. It only took both bodies, elected bodies, 4 years to meet again after 2012, June 2016, from June 2012. I was at that meeting. So it took 4 years for all y'all to get together. So what I think what I hear Mr. McClemmon saying is work together now. I think there's a first good attempt, okay? But what I'm really disheartened with is, so since June, there's also a schools committee on the planning commission. It had a deadline of January 31st. It wasn't meant until January 18th and January 25th. And at January 25th meeting, it was decided we couldn't finish the work and extend it to another time. I appreciate the work that Chairman Evans has done and Karen Corbett-Sanders has done. But when the last topic on equity, on the whole socioeconomic segregation was brought up, out of 3 sessions, only about 20 minutes was held out on that. So I have issues with if you can't do the homework assignment, then extend the fictitious deadline that the Board of Supervisors have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Becerra. Amir Abdurrahim.
I'll be transferring my time. Mr. Osman, thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the school board. I appreciate the opportunity.
If when you're finished, if you would let the clerks know your name and contact information.
For the record.
Thank you.
Fair enough. So in a very diverse America, in an America which continues to get diverse, we can respect and honor differences while respecting boundaries. And I think that with this controversial issue with respect to the LGBT projecting that onto our kids, I think that it's important to keep into consideration the fact that we have many families that don't know exactly what these policies are, what exactly this curriculum is. And I think you guys, in one respect, are putting teachers in a very difficult position, because if you think about it, when a parent receives this homework or this type of curriculum and they don't know how to help their kids with their homework, who are they going to take it out on? They're not going to directly take it out on you guys. They're going to take it out on the parent. On the teacher. So I think that's also the important consideration in this country, where the demographics are going to continue to change. The demographics are going to continue to, be individuals that continuously look differently, more different than the mainstream. We have to keep into consideration the fact that we have to respect the fact that there's a lot of religious differences, Muslim, Christian, Jewish. When it comes to dealing with these type of issues, they're very touchy issues. So I think that when there's usually across the board type of fix, I think with this last election, we kind of see what happens, the backlash when it comes to, when the government kind of does, an across-the-board type of policy. So I think we have to keep that into consideration when it comes to the fact that bureaucrats, with all due respect, sometimes feel like they can do an across-the-board policy, and small communities, small towns, inner cities are all affected by it across the board, but they don't really take into consideration the fact that what is the value added of this policy? What exactly? Is it to raise awareness? Well, we can raise awareness, we can be civil without necessarily violating others' religious beliefs and violating the values of families, as many of the speakers today have mentioned. I do definitely, personally, I was kind of taken aback by the fact that, in reference to the video, in reference to a boy can go in the girl's bathroom, a girl can go in the boy's bathroom, or vice versa, or you can kind of just be subjective with it. I think the fact that the social norms are changing, we can deal with it in a certain way without having a policy that is across the board difficult to implement, difficult to maintain, could be very offensive to families. I think that's an important consideration. I think that, as you can see in this auditorium, there's not that much engagement in communities, and I think that gives you guys, some also incentive to get your communities more involved in these decisions. Otherwise, they're going to be affected by it. They're going to be caught off guard by it. We have, a population that is not that engaged. Let's be clear about it, civilly, in the education system and in the voting system, but that doesn't give the right to bureaucrats or to individuals in those positions to implement a policy that's going to adversely affect so many individuals and so many families, so many communities. And I think that it's an important consideration. I do have 8 more seconds, so I want to thank you all for the opportunity, and I look forward to many times. I'm sorry, Osman Muhammad. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Again, if you would let the clerk know your contact information. Thank you very much. And we now turn to student representative matters, and I call on Ms. Chu.
Thank you, Chair. First, we would just like to welcome Boy Scouts in the audience from Troops 160 in Herndon, Virginia, and 893 in Centerville, Virginia. They're here working on their citizenship and the community merit badge, so thank you for coming today.
Go 893.
If you could please stand to be recognized. Thank you so much for your work in the community. I'd also like to welcome students, parents, educators, nutrition professionals, school health advisors, and other community members to the Real Food for Kids Culinary Challenge and Wellness Expo. This will be taking place on March 11th at Lake Braddock Secondary School. And this expo is really a great opportunity for our members to get involved with the nutritional services in our county. It includes up to 2 expert-led workshops, chef demonstrations, from our FCPS culinary team, and our partner, Cuisine Solutions, will be presenting to the community members who attend a lot of the work that has been done in improving the nutritional services in our county. So I really encourage students and parents to attend this event so they can see all the work that is being done for our students. In addition, I would just like to thank Mr. Robert Rigby in the back and the West Potomac High School Gay Straight Alliance team. I was very honored to be able to attend their meeting today to open a discussion about students and the environment that they're in their school communities with regards to LGBTQ matters and Title IX. The students were extremely insightful and offered great feedback on the environment that they're living in and what they believe can better improve our county. So I'd just like to thank the students again for opening the conversation that we're having. In addition, I would just like to thank the school board members, seeing that it is School Board Appreciation Month, and again, our wonderful clerks who are like my 3 moms throughout this entire year. So thank you for all the work that you do. And that's all for today.
Thank you, Ms. Chu. Item 4.02, appoint 1 citizen member recommended by the Audit Committee. I call on Ms. Hines for the motion.
Yes, excuse me just a moment. I'm sorry. I was taken by Ms. Chu's remarks, lost my place. Okay. I think the motion would be that I move that the school board accept the nomination of Clay Hale as the citizen member for a term ending June 30th, 2018. Could I get a second?
Seconded by Ms. Corbett-Sanders. Ms. Hines, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. Just Mr. Hale could not be here tonight, but I would just say, for those who don't know, the school board's audit committee has 4 voting school board members and 2 community members who serve with us. One of our community members recently resigned the committee, and so we have had the opportunity to replace that community member. And we had many applications from this community, people who were wildly overqualified, I think, for the job. We just have such great talent and experience in Fairfax County. And so we interviewed several applicants, and we decided to ask Mr. Clay Hale to join us on the audit committee. I'll give you a little bit of Mr. Hale's background. It is very impressive. First, he has 2 children in the school system. His wife has been an active member of the PTA and is currently PTA president at one of their children's schools. He has more than 30 years experience in various finance and accounting leadership roles in both the public and private sectors. He has worked for Siemens Government Technologies since 1994 and is currently their senior vice president and chief financial officer. He's a graduate of the Citadel and has an MBA from Duke University. So, as I said, we have just incredible talent to choose from, and I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Hale to our committee.
Ms. Corbett-Sanders, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. It's often said that if FCPS is looking for an expert, that they should look into their parent community. And that is certainly the case with the selection of our citizen members of the Audit Committee. The incredible number of experts in the area of finance, risk management, and audit made the selection of a single citizen member very challenging for the committee. I would like to extend a warm thank you to all of those that put their names forward to offer their time and expertise to Fairfax County Public Schools. As you have heard from Mrs. Hines, Mr. Hale has the depth and breadth of experience to complement the skills of our other citizen member. I wholeheartedly endorse his selection to serve on the Audit Committee. And I am only sorry that he is not able to be here tonight to introduce him to all of you. But I welcome his participation as a full member of the Audit Committee and appreciate all those that put their names forward.
Mrs. Huff?
As another sitting member of the Audit Committee, I also wanted to welcome Mr. Hale and just express my gratitude for the dozens of applications we had for this opening. I think it just speaks to how our community is getting more and more involved in the conversation. I think it helps speak to the many citizens who've been coming before us to discuss the desire for a more robust audit from our school system. And I'm appreciative of this board who has taken that seriously. And as we are actively searching for an Auditor General currently, I'm pleased that we have filled this citizen appointee position. And as we'll hear later this evening, I'm also grateful for the more robust audit reports that we are receiving. So I think it is moving in the right direction, and I'm excited. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other members wanting to speak, Ms. McLaughlin.
Given the number of speakers who came out this evening wanting to make sure that the board has a deep appreciation for the importance of the role of the Office of the Auditor General, and I especially appreciated the comments about what an Inspector General is, because that is actually something I had advocated for a better understanding, I think, for the public of what the board hopes for and what we can gain from it. But I do think, to echo what Ms. Corbett-Sanders said, we are extremely fortunate on this school board to represent a county of 1.3 million people who are incredibly talented, and to have so many citizens who then recognize the important role of the school board's audit committee, of a school system of over $3 billion in annual operations. This is, I believe, really exciting for our board to have identified yet another highly distinguished citizen who wishes to give their volunteer time and help the board do this very important role, which is the fiscal stewardship of our resources, because in the end, all 12 of us, along with the 1.3 million people who live in this county, want to ensure that we deliver the best educational services possible with the limited funding that we are having through a recession that just simply won't produce the post-recession revenue. Continues to be a challenge here in the county as a whole. So I look forward to supporting the recommendation that came from the Audit Committee. I appreciate Chairman Hines of the Audit Committee and all of those who served in reviewing the resumes and interviewing the interested citizens, and look forward to hearing about the great work they'll continue to do as a committee.
Mrs. Strauss?
I just want to briefly say I was delighted to see the final recommendation from the Audit Committee. This family comes out of one of my schools. And Mr. Hale is once again overqualified for the job, which is a wonderful gift to our committee. I know his wife very well. She is the PTA president. They're a family that's active in the school, so not only will he add his professional skill to the Audit Committee, but they also understand our school system, which is very helpful in these circumstances. So congratulations, Mr. Hale, and good work, Audit Committee. Thank you.
So the vote is on the motion to accept the recommendation of the Audit Committee and appoint Mr. Clay Hale as the citizen member for a term ending June 30th, 2018. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that vote is unanimous, and the motion passes. Thank you. Item 4.03, Joint County and Schools Budget Work Plan. I call on Ms. Dearnett-Koufax for the motion.
I move that the school board approve the Joint County and Schools Budget Work Plan as detailed in the agenda item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Moon. Ms. Dearnett-Koufax, would you like to speak to your motion?
Just briefly, the Joint Budget Work Group was convened this last November as a result of conversations that were held last summer during our joint school board and Board of Supervisors retreat. County and school staff work together with our school board chair, Ms. Evans, the budget chair, myself, as well as Board of Supervisors chair, Ms. Bulova, and budget chair of the Board of Supervisors, Jeff McKay, to put together this work plan. We believe this plan will provide greater transparency and help all individuals, staff, both boards, and the public to better understand the budget process. I encourage my colleagues to support this work plan.
Thank you. Mr. Moon, would you like to speak to your second?
Just briefly, I'm happy to support this motion that both County Board of Supervisors and School Board basically represent the same community. We serve the same community, even though school board's focus is a public education as opposed to other areas. But the more closely, we work with the county supervisors, which is also a funding authority, I think, and will serve our Fairfax community much better.
Ms. Palchik.
Yes, thank you. Also briefly, I definitely support this, this motion and the joint budget. I think this is also a response to calls from the community for the two boards to work jointly together. And we discussed last year that this would be a very good area, as seen from our various trips over the years to Richmond, the part of advocating both for increased funding to education, which we are now 43rd out of 50 states, and also increased local authority. It is really unfortunate that not only do we see very little back from Richmond, but also have very limited authority in raising local revenue here in Fairfax County. So I highly support this and hope that the Board of Supervisors will also accept our amended resolution. Thank you.
Ms. Schultz?
In the, I think I have to count back now, in the summer, maybe even the spring of 2011, when I was first running for the school board, this was something that was on my platform. This is something that I went door to door and talked to people about, and the public was stunned and amazed that the Board of Supervisors and the school board at that point in time had never even had a joint board meeting. There had been no work together and collaborating, and we in our previous board had gotten together and sat at Finance Park, and we had the first retreat of the school board and the Board of Supervisors. And to see even just where we went from that first retreat, which was a little bit awkward, putting us all together, and being able to arrive at where we were this week, sitting with the Board of Supervisors and having very salient conversations about things on their side that they could do, things on our side that we could do, aligning our budget calendar, understanding that out of our $3 billion budget, about 78% of that, and I'm not going to ask for any math checks, but I think it's about 78% of that comes from the Board of Supervisors. And that amount that they give us represents basically about 53% of the county's entire budget. The work to get these two boards collaborating together and to understand that 22 people in this county control $4 billion is a very progressive step forward, and progressive, I say, in a good way, and in helping us align, helping us understand priorities, helping us talk more fluidly across the aisle, across the ideologies, and put the children in Fairfax County in our sights, put the taxpayers on our sights, put parents in our sights, and start to align our work towards the meaningful purpose of servants, public servants, serving you with your money, with your buildings, with services that serve ultimately you. And I think that the public should be happy about this and should seek to push us to continue to collaborate better, because in the end, you are the beneficiaries of these two boards working better together.
Mrs. Corbett-Sanders?
Yes. I too will be very happy to support the adoption of this work plan. It really represents the shared values of the two boards and a recognition of the importance of collaboration, as Mrs. Schultz has mentioned, as well as increased transparency and developing priorities as part of a one Fairfax. And I think more and more our constituents, our students, our employees want to see us working together collaboratively as a one Fairfax. And so this is a great first step, and I look forward to working more closely on budgets together. We will be bringing to you on March 13th as a part of a work session a plan on how the Planning Commission and the Schools Committee of the Planning Commission and the school system can work collaboratively on planning issues as well. And so I think more and more you're going to see joint efforts, and that's good for everybody.
Thank you, and I'll just say I want to very much thank our budget staff and the budget staff on the county side. They worked very hard to make this work plan a reality. Just for anyone watching at home, you should know that we did have a lengthy conversation on this plan at our work session last Monday and had a few revisions that we sent back to the Board of Supervisors who did adopt those revisions, and then they approved this work plan last week at their regular board meeting, so we are in sync on that. This will lead us to have our joint meetings on a regular schedule rather than on an ad hoc basis, and I do think that this is a significant step forward, so I very much appreciate all the work that went into it. And with that, I'm going to move that the school, or I repeat that the motion is that the school board approve the joint county and schools budget work plan as detailed in the agenda item. All those in favor, please raise your hand. And that vote is unanimous and passes. Thank you very much, everyone. We go now to the consent agenda. Our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by a single motion. Many items listed have gone through board review, and documentation has been provided to all board members and the public in advance. Items may be removed from the consent agenda at the request of any board member prior to the meeting. 5.01, appoint individuals to serve on committees as detailed in the agenda item. 5.02, minutes, but there are no minutes to approve at this time. If I'd known that, I would have skipped over that. Excuse me, Madam Chair, am I out of sequence here? Was 5.02 award of contract? All right, so excuse me, I'm going to go back. 5.02 award of contract. Timberlane Elementary School roof replacement project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, R.D. Bean, Inc., in the amount of $615,400, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 4.0, is this 4.03, Madam Clerk, or is it? It is 5.04? All right, 5.04. Approve the alternative accreditation plan requests for Keys Center, Kilmer Center, Mountain View Alternative High School, Bryant Alternative High School, and the Fairfax Adult High School for submission to the Virginia Board of Education as detailed in the agenda item. 5.05, confirm the separations for the period beginning January 1st, 2017 and ending January 31st, 2017. Hearing and seeing no objection to the consent agenda is approved. Item 6 is new business. The following items are new business agenda items. There will not be a vote tonight on these items, but action is scheduled at a future meeting. 6.01, award the contract for the automatic temperature control replacement at Marshall Road Elementary School to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 6.02, award the contract for the tennis court replacements at Mount Vernon High School to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 6.03, award a contract for Annandale High School roof replacement project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 6.04, award a contract for Chantilly High School roof replacement project to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer the contract on behalf of the school board. 6.05, authorize staff to issue a notice of award to multiple contractors for electrical installation services for portable classroom trailers, and authorize the division superintendent or the assistant superintendent of facilities and transportation services to execute, deliver, and administer contracts on behalf of the school board. 6.06, approve the audit charter as detailed in the agenda item. 6.07, approve the titles listed for Latin textbooks for levels 1 through 3 as recommended by the World Language Basal Instructional Materials Adoption Committee and the Selection Advisory Committee, and approve the title listed for upper level materials, levels 4, 5, AP, IB, as recommended resources for these levels. 6.08, approve the titles listed for kindergarten through grade 12 social studies, which does not include grade 4 Virginia studies, as recommended by the Social Studies Basal Instructional Materials Adoption Committee and the Selection Advisory Committee. And we now go to superintendent matters, and I call on Dr. Lockhart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to first start by thanking Chairman Sharon Bulova and the rest of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for their work at our joint budget work session on Tuesday. Appreciate the conversation and the continued partnership as we work through another very tough budget for FY18. The only way to continue to provide the high level of services provided in FCPS is to work in partnership. So I encourage everyone to stay involved in the process, and you can find much more information on the schedule of public hearings on our website. 2 Saturday Night in the Suburbs programs developed by the Unified Prevention Coalition will be held at South Lakes High School on Wednesday, March 8th, and at Westfield High School on Thursday, March 16th. The program is only open to adults, begins at 7 p.m., and is sponsored by each school's PTSA. A panel of high school seniors will be featured, talking openly about alcohol and drug use, teen parties, social media, parent supervision, and enabling and communication with parents. Middle school and high school parents are encouraged to attend. We recognized the social workers, among other groups, earlier this evening, and I want to express my appreciation for their dedication to their work. They're at the front line in our schools with some of the most difficult issues our students and families face. So thank you for your service to our system. And those are my comments this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Lockhart. Board committee reports. I call on Mr. McElveen for an update on the Public Engagement Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So to start with, we reviewed the feedback the school board had provided about our various communication efforts and needs as a board. And we came to the agreement with staff that they would help us work on some of those issues. And we're hoping moving forward that PEC will continue to be engaged on those various things, and that we'll get back to the board if there is anything to come of that regarding trainings and things like that.
Thank you, Mr. McElveen. I call on Ms. McLaughlin for an update from the Governance Committee.
Just briefly, I appreciated the time that both the Governance Committee members spent talking about where we are on a new policy on naming rights and corporate sponsorships with Fairfax County Schools, and appreciated then the dialogue continuing with our colleagues that evening at the work session. We will be bringing that back to the Governance Committee to get additional guidance from staff on information that we believe is very important, especially input from our principals and our directors of student activities, as well as examining what other jurisdictions like Loudoun County and the Park Authority are doing in this area of revenue enhancements to organizations.
Call on Mrs. Corbett Sanders for an update on Audit Committee.
Yes, we met yesterday, and because Ms. Hines was out ill, I chaired that meeting, so I'm glad that Ms. Hines is feeling better today. Very active meeting, went over the new audit planning process for fiscal year 18, and am encouraging all of my school board members, fellow school board members, leadership team, and the heads of departments to work with the OAG in the next month as they begin to develop the audit universe for next year's plan. We also had an extensive discussion about the business process audits that were conducted in the past month and how the OAG decides on which schools to audit. And so they will be bringing to us next month the new matrix, or the matrix that they are using for that. We also had extensive discussion about the transportation audit that was mentioned earlier this evening. Everyone expressed their appreciation for the in-depth report and the excellent readout from the staff of what needed to be conducted in the future, and there was a discussion and a commitment by staff to have facilities and management do further analysis on how they can realize some efficiencies as a result of the report, as well as ensure that the data that was identified as missing data points would be collected in a more deliberate manner and maintained. We also talked about about the audit plan for this year, and this year we had both an audit plan and a work plan, which is now posted together on the website, and going forward there will be an integrated audit plan that includes those work activities that are traditional but not integrated or not specific audits, and so that's the work plan piece. We put together a list of items for the next audit committee meeting in March, and that will include a discussion of the online classes audit, which is almost completed. We will also look at the business process turnover decision matrix and any new business process turnover reports, as well as the regulation 1410, which has some further modifications that we can expect for next month. And in April, we will be looking at the contract management audit.
And I have a question for you by Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Corbett Sanders, for that report. And I just have taken a quick look at the transportation audit, and I'm glad to hear that you guys had sort of a thorough discussion. But I wondered whether or not you could, there were some items in that were sort of labeled high risk. And I wonder whether or not you guys talked about prioritizing how to deal with the recommendations in the report. And I also had a question about whether you discussed the state of the contract with the county, which, if I'm reading it correctly, was initially agreed to in 1968 and hasn't been revised since. I don't know how many buses we had back then, but...
So could I interject here? I'm assuming, Ms. Hines, that you'll want to be holding a work session on these items?
Sure, why don't we work together, Madam Chair? And
So I think probably that would be the appropriate time for, unless there is something that's time sensitive on this issue.
There were just, these are a couple of things that just jumped out and sort of, and I think some of our speakers mentioned that this transportation audit is sort of chock full of question-raising type findings and data.
So I would suggest, well, of course, work with Ms. Hines, but when we have a work session on it, that would be, unless there is something time sensitive. Ms. McLaughlin, did you have something else to do? Oh, I see a lot of questions. Are these things that are more appropriate for a work session as opposed to a report on the committee?
The only thing I would say that is sort of time sensitive and dovetails with our budget discussion is that it appeared that the contract itself does not allow for annual negotiations of what we pay to the county for maintenance. And since I think it said $25 million is transferred to the county related to bus maintenance, And I believe that we learned at a work session that there's another $10 million spent on bus leases in the budget. I think these are significant budget items, and so I think that if we can expedite the discussion date so that we can find out whether or not these potential savings.
So I'll work with Ms. Hines on finding a date that will service, even though we are, again, very, very, very full. But this is not on our agenda tonight, so this isn't the time for us to be making a decision. But Ms. Hines and I see Ms. Corbett-Sanders also, did you have a comment to make on it?
Ms. Corbett-Sanders, did you want to add something? 'Cause you heard the discussion last night, I did not.
Yeah, we had a very robust discussion about just those items and including the numbers and realizing that they're substantial when you're talking about $25 million. And that's why when I suggested that the facility staff would be doing further analysis on how they could realize some of those efficiencies. And you are correct that the original agreement with the county dates back to 1968, but it's only like a 2-paragraph agreement. It's actually not a formal memorandum of understanding. And so that was raised in the report, and it's my understanding from staff yesterday that they are looking to perhaps formalize that a bit more. We did ask them to also look at neighboring jurisdictions and other places across the county, which the OAG had already, or across the country, and the OAG had already done that. And they came back saying that there was, that Fairfax was unique, and that we are usually just handed a price list from the county. And so that was another area where there would be greater discussion between the county and the facilities staff.
Thank you for providing more information.
All right, thank you, and we will work on getting that scheduled as soon as possible.
Ms. Evans, I did have my light on because I did want to ask a question.
All right.
And I was going to be called on, and then I got lost in the fray of other people commenting. I want to echo, I appreciate that you and Ms. Hines are going to now work on fitting this into the board's schedule, but I think at even a macro level, this is just a perfect example for all of us as a board to have a better understanding of process, because this is a report that, yes, it came to the audit committee, but then for the rest of the board, it might be helpful to just know in the future, how do we go about a report gets presented to the audit committee, then when and if it's important to bring it to the board or not, and then
I
how
would
that
say
would happen.
that this was going to come to the board without this conversation. This was going to come to a work session because it's an important thing that comes from the audit committee. And typically, the audit committee chair, the governance chair, will say, I need a work session on this to bring to the board. So in the normal course of events, this would have happened anyway. It may have some more urgency to it than perhaps I would have realized without the conversation. But so that's good for me to know in terms of scheduling it. If we can squeeze it into March, that would seem to make sense. We're going earlier and earlier in our work sessions and later, but did you have another comment, or was it just?
No, it's helpful. This is sort of new for us because we really haven't been having these types of reports before coming to.
We have more robust reports now, that's correct.
Yeah, so that's why I just wanted to kind of, again, understand at a macro level, and when we get to this one, then I think we can see how it all works out and then have a better idea of just, again, process-wise, what would come from audit to the full board for a work session and what doesn't. Does it require board members lobbying for it, or is it just, the audit committee making a recommendation amongst themselves saying, you know what, I think this warrants bringing this to the full board, and then that's the vehicle for it happening. So, thank you.
Mrs. Huff, do you have your light on too? Okay, go ahead.
I'll be brief. I think we covered it. Knowing it's going to work session, I think definitely relieves some of the need for conversation tonight. But again, I did want to thank the Office of the Auditor General on this, because they did provide a very robust report. And it's an example of where we're going. We have a high-risk item just in the fact that it's a $25 million figure that we were discussing on top of student safety and how we do better with that. So I'll look forward to the work session.
Excellent. Well, thank you for those comments, and we will work on that. We now turn to board matters, and I call on Ms. Hines.
I'll pass tonight, thank you.
Ms. Palchik.
Yes, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank our clerks, social workers, and athletic trainers who we honored tonight for their invaluable work and support of our public schools. Also, as it is School Board Appreciation Week, I also want to say thank you to the community who allow us to serve you. I know for myself and my board members, it's an honor and a privilege. And finally, want to thank the Board of Supervisors for our joint budget meetings. And also, they are now airing live out of their new boardroom, I believe Channel 16, and they're also on the website. So I appreciate that our joint meetings with the Board of Supervisors can now be viewed live or later by county residents. Finally, I really want to thank Marshall Academy for hosting their open house last week. It was a fabulous way to bring community members, including business leaders, nonprofits, and even Supervisor Faust joined us to visit the labs at Marshall Academy. So I want to thank them and Jeff over there, both Jeffs, for running a fabulous program, two Jeffs. And then finally, just want to share a few upcoming opportunities to get involved and engaged. Both that I will be hosting, sorry, I can't speak anymore. I'll be hosting my next office hours on Monday, March 6th from 4:30 to 6 at the Panera in Mosaic District. And also on March 8th, I will be joining Supervisor Linda Smith for our annual joint school and county budget discussion, as well as our staff, Ms. Michael and Joe Mondaro from the county office. That's at 7 p.m. at the Providence Community Center in Vienna, not to be confused with the Providence Rec Center. This is the new community center over on Baden Drive. And finally, due to a request from some families, parents, advocates to have a workshop on how funding works, I will be hosting a School Funding 101 workshop and discussion for interested community members, also at the Providence Community Center, and that will be Saturday, March 11th from 9:30 to 11:30. And thanks to a generous parent, there will be coffee and donuts. So I hope you will join us to learn, bring your questions, and to have a discussion. And with that, thank you all, and good evening.
Mrs. Howe?
Yes, I just want to thank the citizen participants who continue to come and share their points of views. It is good to hear where our community stands on a variety of topics. I also want to thank the specific community members who came out to my office hours last week in the Mason District, and I look forward to meeting with Braddock District members on Monday at noon at the Kings Park Library. Thank you.
Ms. Schultz?
On the heels of yesterday's federal reissuance of the Dear Colleague letter from the current administration regarding treatment of gender identity, I want to read an excerpt from my comments from May 7th, 2015. This past Sunday, I watched a story about the rise of a young woman who started as an intern to become the first woman to run a U.S. automobile manufacturer, General Motors. As a mother of two children about the age of two of my own children, I was struck by Mary Teresa Barra's role as a leader of a massive organization. With a $2.6 billion budget and the largest employer of full-time and part-time employees in the Commonwealth, FCPS pales in comparison to General Motors with 212,000 plus employees in 396 facilities touching 6 continents. In being charged with improving, and some would say even saving, General Motors, her pragmatic approach in, for example, sometimes ending meetings at 5:30 to make her children's games left an impression on me. The most significant takeaway, though, was her strategic leadership in taking a 10-page dress code for their employees down to 2 words: dress appropriately. When faced with the notion that if a child doesn't fit into one of the named particular classes of non-discrimination, that were or will discriminate against them means that we are affirmatively participating in discriminating against any of our children is preposterous. Earlier in our term, one of my colleagues championed a legislative package advocating the Virginia General Assembly's press for Congress for an equal rights amendment to the U.S. Constitution. I didn't support it. It's not the business of the board. In November of that year, one of my colleagues championed another policy to add sexual orientation. I didn't support that either. And I even spoke at the time about the ongoing classification of special protections for individual people. In the end, I advocated for changing our non-discrimination policy to 2 words: don't discriminate. That was 659 days ago. In the time since, this board, FCPS staff, parents, taxpayers, and advocacy groups have collectively spent thousands of hours and untold resources on a topic that has, for all intents and purposes, wound up exactly where we started. Had Ms. Barra been a transgender woman, would her historic ascendancy to a largely male-dominated automobile industry, from being a 17-year-old girl starting in General Motors to CEO, be hailed as an example to young women in the nation? Had the outcome of November's election been different, would the hail of the first woman president of the United States have been received the same or sent the same message to young girls in the nation if Hillary Clinton were a transgender woman? If Bruce Jenner had won an Olympic decathlon as Caitlyn Jenner, would the results have been deemed to be fair to the young women also competing for the accomplishment and worldwide recognition? It is not unkind, insensitive, diminishing to anyone to answer emphatically no. And that's the problem, because the air has been filled with invective, a narrative that if the answer is no, it's for some reason, fill in the blank, ist. Few have been willing to say it. I took heaps of abuse for saying it in May 2015. I probably will again for saying it tonight, because saying it out loud does not conform to the narrative which led to the board's action in May of 2015, or to the May 2016 Dear Colleague letter of the previous administration, or the response of the new Office of Civil Rights Dear Colleague letter published yesterday. The reason I repeated the words tonight is because they were important. And it was at the heart of the Education Secretary Betsy DeVos's hesitancy to support the new guidance that was issued yesterday. She too wanted to ensure the message is maintained, which I said then, and I'm saying now, 2 words: don't discriminate. We bring people together when we find common ground, when we teach children in our educational care to respect differences and discuss them with the lens of meeting someone's different view, not with antipathy, but with curiosity. When we find things which people with disparate views can agree upon, that's when the dialogue happens, when understanding occurs, good policy is made, and authentic stewardship by elected officials entrusted by the public to represent all views turns into servant leadership. I hope that the reset button last night is welcomed in the vein that I believe it was intended, not the end of a contentious conversation, but the beginning of a productive one which involves, engages, respects all stakeholders in concert with the role of parents as the primary educators of their own children.
Mrs. Corbett-Sanders.
So I am going to congratulate the West Potomac varsity girls and boys teams who won the Patriot title last week and this week have done extremely well. Very excited that Friday night, tomorrow night, the West Potomac High School boys varsity will be battling Madison High School's varsity team, and that both of those teams will go on to state finals.
Mrs. Strauss?
I'd like to congratulate the recent graduates from Mount Vernon, Mountain View High School. There was a major article written about several of the students in the Connection. Thank you, Connection, for covering this. But many of our students at Mountain View are heroic, hardworking students. And to read the descriptions of their final accomplishment of graduating from high school is always very, very inspiring. So congratulations, Mountain View students. I'd also like to congratulate the Longfellow Science Olympiad team. They have won first place in the Lake Braddock Regional Science Olympiad and will be going off to the state on March 25th. Good luck to the Longfellow team. They have, I believe, won the regional 3 times in a row. So very hardworking science students. Thank you.
Mr. Moon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sure that most of my colleagues know that I go watch a lot of basketball games. And I did that this week too. Tuesday night and Wednesday night, watched the 2 games. Both of the games ended with the last shot at the sound of buzzer. Both games. Wow. It was a tremendous victory for the winners, but heartbreakers for the losing teams. And I'll be watching more games this weekend. I'll be joining, hopefully, some of my colleagues at Robinson and Lake Braddock. And even though I missed Bryant and Mountain View graduations, I was able to join a Dr. Leib and Dr. Francisco Duran at the adult high school graduation at Woodson yesterday. Whenever I go to these special school graduation, brings me so much joy, especially adult high school graduations, when you see graduates from as young as 19 and 20 to someone who is a grandfather, looks like in his mid-60s. But they are all fine examples of people who did not give up, overcoming their life struggles and pursuing and getting their high school diplomas. Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Yes, a couple things. First of all, I want to remind my colleagues that tomorrow we have our school board retreat from 3 to 6 o'clock p.m. here at the Fairfax County headquarters, Gatehouse Cafe. It will be led by the Leadership Fairfax CEO, Karen Cleveland, who is also a certified leadership coach. I look forward to the work she will lead us in tomorrow in talking about board relations and board work, especially as we begin our superintendent selection process, as well as the selection process for our new Auditor General. I also want to make sure board members saw the email that I sent to you. Please do review that email and make sure that you're prepared for tomorrow's retreat. I know some board members are having sidebar conversations, so I'm hoping they're still realizing that tomorrow, please come prepared for the retreat. Board members at the right-hand side of my right side. Read the email and make sure you know what to anticipate for tomorrow's retreat. And the other thing is I want to share with not just my colleagues, but Dr. Lockhart, especially I greatly appreciate the work every day that our high school principals do. But I was very fortunate yesterday and today to spend time with the principals from Woodson High School, Frost Middle School, Lake Braddock, and Robinson. And tomorrow we'll be meeting with Annandale High School Principal Tim Thomas. They've all graciously given me time to review where we are with the budget, to talk about what they see as leaders in our schools, the challenges that they hear from their faculty on how we can best deliver a quality education in the limiting budget times that we've had since the recession over the years, and just really enjoyed that time to hear their very knowledgeable perspectives, and it was just appreciative of the reception I received in my time with them. I do want to also share that, like my colleague and fellow Braddock resident, Ms. Huff, that I too will be having office hours next week, also at the Kings Park Library, but mine will be on Friday, March 3rd, from 8:30 in the morning till 10:30. So if you can't make it to Ms. Huff's noon hour office hours, I guess you said Monday, then I'll be there on Friday, and I might even stop by if my schedule permits and hang out with Ms. Huff on Monday too. So the other thing is that I wanted to just compliment the Woodson men's wrestling for winning the Patriot Conference and placing 5th in regionals. A number of the boys went on to states as well. And as Ms. Corbett-Sanders noted, yes, West Potomac won the regional won the Patriot District boys basketball title, but it was at the hands of my beloved Woodson. So they're now all in the regional tournament together, and with some victories are now actually going to enjoy going to states as well. So bring it on, West Potomac. I hope to see you guys again.
Mr. Wilson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to thank the principals in schools that have invited me out for visits, most recently to Oak Hill Elementary School and Poplar Tree Elementary School. It's been my pleasure to see the implementation of the FCPS on technology initiative in the Chantilly Pyramid, and I encourage all my colleagues, if you haven't already, and you can find the time in your schedules, please do visit one of the Chantilly school pyramids to understand what a great job that they are doing to integrate the one-to-one computer initiative into the classrooms and how it's affecting the parents and kids and teachers in the schools. So thank you very much for that. I also wanted to thank the PTSA at Centerville High School for inviting me out to their recent meeting and engaging in a very robust conversation regarding the budget and the questions. And I wanted to thank Alex Wigington for coming out with me and giving a brief presentation on the proposed budget. Coming up, I will be visiting Rocky Run Middle School to have a tour of their school next week, and I will be co-hosting a budget town hall with Supervisor Kathy Smith at Rocky Run Middle School in the Little Theater on March 8th at 7 p.m. Please come out if you can. And then on March 22nd, I'm going to be having office hours, I think at the Kings Park Library. No, it's going to be 10 a.m. at the Chantilly Regional Library, even though Kings Park is a great place to have office hours. So thank you very much, and I hope to see people. Please stay engaged as we try to tackle the difficult decisions that we have coming forward. And I'd also like to say finally, thank you to all the speakers who continually amaze me at the beginning of our meetings with very thoughtful comments about the issues that are confronting the board. Thank you.
Ms. Darnett Kovacs.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. I want to say I was honored to attend the Bryant High School graduation last week, and as Mr. Moon referenced, with some of our alternative high schools, there's many obstacles these young people have had to overcome to get that diploma, and I congratulate each and every one of you on your accomplishments and having the grit and determination to go forward and to get the diploma. Congratulations on that. I attended the District 10 choir concert last weekend and was treated to much beautiful music there. I also attended the Head Start FCPS meeting this week, and I just want to thank the parents in that group for all of the hard work you are doing for us and keeping us all informed about what's going on with a Head Start and FCPS. Thank you to our awesome clerks for all that you do. You keep us organized, you keep us in line, and we really appreciate all of your hard work. So thank you for everything. And to my colleagues, budget continues, and next week the Board of Supervisors will set the tax rate on Tuesday, the February 28th. So for all of those out there who would like the conversation to continue to be robust, right now it was recommended that rate stay flat. If you tuned in earlier to our budget work session, you know that we have a challenge before us. And so if you would like to have that change or have an increase in the tax rate, may I encourage you to have conversations with the Board of Supervisors to encourage that to happen before the 28th. And if we have that, we will have more flexibility as we go forward in our conversations for our board. There's no guarantee that that tax rate would be set then, but it would allow for flexibility and for further conversations. So I encourage you all to reach out.
Mr. McAveen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I enjoyed attending the Mountain View graduation this week with Ms. Schultz and Ms. Hines. As Ms. Derenak-Kofek said about the Bryant graduation, those are always our most powerful, and we always learn a lot, and I think have a very emotional time at those. My message tonight is a shout out to my dad, whose birthday is today. You'll recall many of us serenaded him last year at school, so he was a little disappointed when I was the only one that showed up this year. But I did tell him I would celebrate with him tonight. He just had to turn on the TV and see me on Red Apple 21. So happy birthday, Dad.
So I will just close by saying, in regard to the new guidance from the Federal Department of Education, that I do want to assure parents, students, and teachers that our non-discrimination policy does remain firmly in place, that it still includes gender identity, and we will continue to create a safe learning environment for all of our students where everyone is treated with respect and dignity. We will continue to accommodate our transgender and non-gender conforming students, and we will find a way to do so in a way that protects the dignity and privacy of all students. And with that, we need to go back into closed session before we adjourn. So I'm going to read the motion for the board to now to go into closed meeting to discuss and consider disciplinary matters concerning one student pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A2. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mrs. Strauss, seconded by Mrs. Corbett Sanders. All in favor? All right, I think that's unanimous. All right, thank you. We're in closed session now. Thank you.